Hello and welcome to another episode of 177 Nations of Tasmania. Now, Morocco and Tasmania are far apart, both in distance and in culture. And not surprisingly, there are just a small handful of Moroccans living in Tasmania. One of them is Ben, my guest for this episode, who came to Tasmania to do his PhD. Now, the focus of his PhD is an issue that actually connects both places: housing, particularly social housing. In this episode, we talk about how in high school, Ben's interest in some of the social issues he saw around him was aroused and led him on his education journey, which would eventually bring him to Tasmania. We also discuss family and food in Morocco and some similarities with the housing problems faced in both Tasmania and Morocco.
I am Omar Ben Haman. I am originally from Morocco. I was born and raised there, and I am currently working at UTAS as a lecturer. What I do, by the way, I finished my PhD last year in social sciences, and I've been working as a lecturer. So I teach in sociology, urban planning, social work, and this kind of mixture of programs and disciplines. I actually grew up in a small town in Morocco called Tisnait. It's in the south of Morocco. I was raised in a middle-class family. I went to school and so my childhood was pretty good. It wasn't that bad. From a family of, I think we are 11. I have 10 siblings. And my dad was a taxi driver. And it was really, really good. And I enjoyed the childhood, even though I had some challenges.
So where did you fit in the 11 siblings?
So I am the youngest.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
So you had a lot of brothers and sisters to look after you.
So I have 5 brothers and 5 sisters.
And so what was it like growing up being the youngest in such a big family?
I was pretty indulged, actually.
Mm-hmm.
The youngest children is always close to mom, and my eldest brother had actually to leave school. They didn't unfortunately finish his school because they had to actually help my father. And so I didn't have much challenges compared to my brothers. I had a chance to go to school. I finished my high school. I went to uni, and I am actually the only one who went to university compared to my brothers and sisters. So I grew up in a Berber community.
Okay.
Berbers are actually the indigenous people of Morocco. They have been there for many years. We have our own language, we have our own traditions, we have our own customs. But we are Muslims, so we are influenced by the Middle Eastern culture. And it was just a kind of, influenced mainly by Berber culture, but there are still some Arabic and Islamic values that actually shape and influence our social identities and culture.
And what would you say the main features or identifying features of the Berber culture that maybe distinguish it?
Okay, first we have our own language. And we have our own culture. So when it comes to food, when it comes to gatherings, when it comes to... so we are a bit different compared to Arabs in Morocco.
And what way different?
Different the way language first. So we speak Berber.
Yep.
And
so is that your first language?
That's right. So that's our own language. My mom speaks Berber. My dad speaks Berber. And but the majority of Moroccans actually speak Arabic. Moroccan Arabic.
Yeah.
We call it Darija.
Moroccan Arabic is quite distinctive.
Absolutely. So they are not really the same, but we still understand each other. But when we speak to people from the Middle East, it's pretty hard for them to understand us because our version of Arabic is a bit influenced by French We were actually colonized by French for quite a while. So when we speak Arabic, if we say, for instance, Sali, Kidair, that means we always try to mix French with Arabic and Spanish as well.
Okay.
So the Arabic we speak in Morocco is pretty different to the ones people speak in the Middle East.
What was sort of some of your strongest memories from your childhood that stand out for you?
Okay, yes, strongest memories from my childhood. I think being with my brothers and sisters, because as I said, I was grew up in a large family. I had sisters, I had brothers, and I was the youngest. I was always indulged, supported, and I just love that kind of atmosphere and the environment. You feel like everyone is in the house. You talk all the time. You share food, and yeah, it was just fantastic. There is that kind of social bond. We really loved each other. We support each other, and yeah, so it was really good.
And I'm guessing that Morocco is probably similar to a lot of the African and Middle Eastern countries where the extended family is a really important part of life.
Absolutely. So the family is pretty extended. There has been some changes in recent years where the nuclear family has emerged, but we still have that social bond. Family in Morocco is very important when it comes to your social identity, when it comes to the why you want to, plan your future, the why you want to work. So you have to be influenced by your families. I remember, for instance, when I was coming to Tasmania, I was in a kind of limbo because I had two options, either to go to the UK, which is actually pretty close to Morocco, or to Australia. When I spoke to my parents, I said, okay, you should go to the UK. It's pretty close, just 2 hours flight, and you are here in Morocco. But in terms of my career, I felt like Australia would work much, much better. Then I was in a kind of limbo for quite a while. And then I just followed my mind. I didn't follow my heart. So I didn't follow my parents. But when it comes to other brothers, yeah, whenever they decide, they have always actually to, go to my parents, speak to them. Oh, I want to take this. I want to get married. I want to do this business. I want to buy this house. So yeah, family plays a significant role in Moroccan society, especially in Berber culture. It has actually positive and negative sides, but I'm just thinking from a positive side. So you get support, you get loved, they will always be there for you. So compared to Australia, where most people are pretty individualistic, people are pretty independent. Morocco, I think, is quite the other way around. Family is always going to be there. And yeah, it has its negative aspects, like, yes, sometimes you feel you are not independent enough to make your own decisions. But at the same time, but look, you might decide, but when I came here, I decided by myself. I spoke to them, but at the end of the day, they say it's up to you. If you want to go to Australia, that's absolutely fine. So, education in Morocco is free. So I was quite lucky my brothers went to school, but they didn't finish. They had actually to drop because, having a large family of 11 children is not easy. It wasn't actually that easy for my dad. That's why for my oldest brothers, they had actually to drop and try to find, something to help my dad to raise actually children. So I was supported by my brothers as well. So it was just a kind of economic thing. It's about money. So that's why they couldn't really finish this school. I think the eldest dropped at grade 4 or 5. So he couldn't really finish his education.
That's in 4 or 5.
No, that was in primary school, by the way. Yeah.
So
because he was obliged to do that.
Okay.
So he could support my dad.
So when you say support, does that mean they went to work?
Yeah, he had to go to work and find a job. So he could help my dad financially.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's pretty young.
Absolutely.
Young
I think, I'm not sure what age, probably when he was 11 or 12. So he was very young. Yeah.
But your experience was obviously quite
different. That's right. Yeah. Because I'm the youngest. And as I said before, I didn't have many challenges compared to my brothers because my dad was working, my brothers, so financially I was okay. So I could have food on the table, they could support buying my clothes, my textbooks. So I didn't really have much problems. And my family was a bit stable, given that my brothers had to work. So we actually, we got upgraded a bit from one
Yep.
stage to another. So which was really, really good. Otherwise I would have to drop as well and
Yep.
go and work. Yeah.
And were you like a good student, and did you enjoy school?
Absolutely. I had to study hard because that was the only option I had at the time. And I loved actually what I was doing. I loved going to school. My brothers, yeah, they didn't really enjoy going to school. But I wouldn't blame them because the circumstances, the poverty and the issues that were actually in Morocco during 1980s, 1990s were pretty hard. Morocco was influenced by structural adjustment programs at the time, and families were struggling. There wasn't enough support from the government. Yeah, but for me, I think the only options I had was education. Just feel like, okay, this is the best way for me to achieve my goals.
When you were, like, say, at high school, did you have any goals or ideas of what you wanted to do in the future?
Absolutely. So when I was in high school, I was really lucky. I had a supportive teacher. He was very supportive. He was always talking about poverty, social injustice, social problems. And I was thinking, okay, what does that mean? Then I started actually applying his ideas to my family, to the issue I had in my childhood. Then I feel like, oh, this is fantastic. Okay, I think that's something I should do actually at university. And then he said, oh, there is something called sociology.
Okay.
And it's a really good discipline and you will enjoy it. So I was guided actually by him, and I decided to study sociology at university.
And how was that experience of?
Okay, yeah.
And did it meet your? Was it what you expected? I guess.
Okay, so my first year it wasn't that great because, as I said before, education in Morocco is free, and going to university means you are going to compete with many students. So my first year it wasn't that easier. It was really hard, and I had to go to the lecture hall of like 300 to 400 students, and it was pretty hard. And we didn't have a chance to talk to the lecturers. We just have the final exam. It's not like here we have tutorials, we have assignments, we have presentations. You've got a lot of support, you've got tutorials. In Morocco, we didn't, unfortunately. I didn't have actually that chance. So it was pretty challenging. You have only the final exam. And you have one question, you pass, you fail, you fail. So to pass the first year was really, really challenging. But once you pass the first year, everything is going to be smooth and fine. So when I passed the first year, I was quite lucky. And the number of students was less compared to the first year. And the first year was great. We had small classes, fantastic lecturers. I remember one of them did his PhD in Germany. He is influenced by Frankfurt School, Habermas, Adorno, and these big critical social theories. And I was really, really influenced by him. And that's why I really, really liked sociology. I feel like this is fantastic. And I'm not going to stop, when I finish my bachelor degree, but I will pursue my master's and then go to do PhD.
Okay, so that was always your plan, was to continue.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, I really enjoyed, I remember in the first year I was asked by my lecturer to give a presentation in front of 300 or 400 students. I was really anxious. I didn't know what to do. I spoke to him. I said, I'm so sorry. I don't think I'm going to do this presentation because I'm really anxious and I have no experience. He said, that's okay, you will be fine. Then he spoke to another student. We were 2 students, and he said, okay, let's do it and everything will be fine. And we did some practice and we feel like everything is gonna be fine. He was actually on the sociology of Max Weber.
Okay.
And It was about rationalization, bureaucracy, and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, we did some practice, and we feel like we are ready now, and let's just go on to the presentation. The day when the presentation came, we went to the lecture, and we feel like, yeah, everything actually should be okay. And they didn't start, actually. My classmate started, and I saw him. He was actually shivering. He was really anxious, and I feel like, oh gosh, this is gonna be pretty tough. And I see everyone was looking at me. I feel like, oh gosh, how am I gonna answer the questions? And yeah, so my first 5 minutes was not that great. I was a bit anxious, and but the rest of my presentation was really, really good. And that was the time actually when I started building my confidence, talking to people, and loving what I was doing. Just feel like, oh, this is fantastic. Being in front of people, talking to them, it's a great experience. And since then, I just feel like, okay, talking in front of people is just fine. So I learned actually some skills there, and that's what shaped my teaching skills today, presentations, talking to people. So that has been really, really influential. And then, yeah, I went to Malaysia, and I was pretty shocked when I just got there. It was really hot, very humid, and I didn't know people. I was staying in a hotel they put us in a hotel for the first year, and there were many students from different countries who had been selected, but mainly from the Middle East, from Yemen, from Jordan, from Iraq, from Africa, Mali, Ghana. So it was Russia, really, right. Yeah, it was really, really diverse. So I had a chance to get myself exposed to others, cultures, languages, and the English was the only language we used to speak, because as I said before, for the Middle Easterns, they wouldn't actually understand Moroccan Arabic. Even if when I wanted to speak to them, they couldn't understand what I was saying, that we had to speak in English. So the first year was pretty okay, even though I had some challenges with regards to the weather, with food. In Morocco, we have bread. Bread, is like, we have it like almost every time. So in breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And in Malaysia, they have rice most of the time. So I couldn't find the Moroccan bread. Crusty, round, and yeah, it was pretty challenging. I spoke to my mom, then she said, okay, if you don't like it there, just come back. I said, no, I am already here, and I don't think it's wise to go back to Morocco. So it's okay. But as time went by, I feel like Malaysia is great, and I got adjusted with the weather, with people. I managed to make friends, and yeah. So my second year was really good. It was the year when I started writing my thesis, making networks, making friends, and I spent most of my time at university just writing and reading. And it was a big research university, big library. Every book I wanted at that time was there. Many workshops about research, how to write, how to publish, how to choose a good journal. So it was in a very good research environment. I was really, really privileged. That's why I would always be grateful for Qatar when they sent me there. And so I finished my master's in 2019. Then I felt like, oh, shall I do my PhD in Malaysia? I wasn't really sure. Then I feel like, I think the time has come to change. I know now about Malaysian universities. I learned enough. So it's good to go to English-speaking country. So I was thinking about the UK or Australia. The people I contacted in Australia, they were really, really supportive. They promised me about, getting a scholarship, getting some casual work, research grants, and all that kind of stuff. And there was in a kind of limbo. I didn't really know what to do. Again, when I spoke to my mom, she said, oh, the UK is going to be pretty good. It's pretty close, and I think you should go there. But at the same time, the supervisor I go there, well, yeah, as I said, didn't really have enough money. She really wanted to supervise me. She really wanted to work with me, but she was a bit uncertain about the money. She said, you might struggle to support yourself. They have a partial scholarship. So it wasn't fully
Okay.
sponsored. So, and that was actually pretty problematic for me because I didn't really want to work. And at the same time, doing PhD, it's not going to be easier. You really need to sit down, do your research. But I had actually that opportunity here in Australia. So the supervisor I spoke to, he was really kind. And he said, yeah, we have scholarships here. We might even secure some grants. And he secured a big grant from the Australian Research Council at the time, which was great. At the time, he had enough money to sponsor me, and he was really into my PhD project. We liked each other. There was that kind of chemistry. We understand each other, and we want just to collaborate. And I feel like, yeah, I think Australia is going to be a good option. Even though I was a bit, I wouldn't say challenged, just my parents weren't actually, they didn't want me to come to Australia. Yeah, and at the time I wasn't really sure about Australia. I heard a lot about Australia, but I didn't know much about the country compared to the UK. But yeah, then when Tasmania, I had no idea where is this state is. But I checked, I had a look, and I saw Hobart, and I feel like, wow, this is fantastic. This is a great place, and I think I'm gonna like it. I checked the climate, and then I feel like, yeah, it's great compared to Malaysia, even though it's gonna be pretty not as warm as Morocco or Malaysia, but I'm pretty sure I'm gonna like it. And so I decided to come here. I think I arrived in October 2019. My supervisor came to the airport, yeah, just to see how much support he gave me. He was really, really kind, very supportive. He picked me up at the airport, and I realized what's going on with Hobart. It's pretty quiet, and because I used to live in a nightlife city, and I think he picked me up around 5. Then when we are coming from the airport to my place in Sandy Bay, I said, what's going on? Is it a kind of public holiday? Then he said, Ben, welcome to Hobart. So I was pretty shocked. It wasn't a big issue to be honest, because I came here to do my PhD. So Tasmania has been really, really good. That's actually what I wanted. And yeah, the first year of my PhD, it wasn't that great because COVID came in 2020. I was planning to do my field work in Morocco. I couldn't. But before I came here, I did some field work, which is great. I did some interviews. Then I spoke to my supervisors. They say, oh, I think you need to change your topic. I said, okay, I don't think that's going to be really good for me because I have already been working on this project for quite a while. And to ask me to do something in Tasmania would take me ages, to understand. And then, yeah, he was pretty understanding, and he said, that's fine. If you are really into this project, that's fine. But I'm not sure how you are going to manage to do the interview, go back to Morocco to talk to people and to the field work. I said, I will figure out. I was positive. I feel like, okay, COVID is going to end like next week or next month, and the borders are gonna be. So I was quite positive, to be honest, but they didn't. Then I spoke again to my supervisors. Then they said, "Oh, we told you, you need to charge it." Then what I did, I decided actually to get a research assistant in Morocco. So I recruited him because I got some money from university to support my research. He was just a kind of mediator between me and the participants. So that was pretty challenging because my PhD focused on slum dwellers, and slum dwellers didn't have phones, didn't have laptops. So it was pretty challenging to talk to them. There is no way to give them a call because it's gonna be expensive. So it wasn't actually achievable. But my research assistant really, really managed to got them to me. I got their WhatsApp numbers, Facebook. So I was doing everything to do my research because I really liked what I was doing and I wanted to do something for them. That actually went pretty well. I managed to do around, more than 40 interviews, very in-depth interviews, pretty long, 3 to 4 hours.
And perhaps you could just explain a bit more about what the focus was of your research project.
So my PhD investigated the impacts of slum resettlements. I choose a case study in the periphery of Casablanca. So I wanted to see how slum dwellers experienced resettlement projects. Because in Morocco, we have many issues with slums. They are mainly located in the cities, major prime land, and the government of Morocco started actually to clear them up from land. So they introduced what's so-called resettlement, to resettle them, to provide them a place somewhere else in the peripheries. So I wanted to see how these people that have been resettled and relocated experience resettlement. What kind of challenges, what kind of problems, what kind did they like the place? So, and they realized that resettlement actually impoverish slum dwellers rather than improving their conditions. They didn't really like the place was really far, they didn't have services like public transport, they had many issues. So the resettlement actually didn't actually what was expected to improve their conditions, to give them a formal housing, blah, blah, blah. The place didn't provide opportunities they had in cities. Because if you go back and see when slums emerged and why, they were actually emerged because of the Industrial Revolution back in 17th and 18th centuries, because many workers, they didn't have a place where to live, then they just go to the peripheries and they start first with a tent, something that is more informal, and that's how slums started to grow, and the government lost control. They couldn't actually control them. So today, many governments are trying actually to solve this issue by providing resettlement or upgrading sometimes. But based on my research, these kind of projects wouldn't solve the issue of slums because they are more into market. So they are actually motivated, this project are motivated by market. How? Because the government is not serious actually to integrate them.
Yeah.
The point is to actually remove them from that prime land, and that prime land will be sold to the investors. And slums, their place is to go again to the peripheries where they are going to be marginalized or excluded. So resettlement is just another way to reproduce some forms of social exclusion and marginalization.
Yeah. So it's basically just moving the problem to another
place.
Just
switching the problem from one place to another.
Yeah.
So if you read my thesis, that's the last argument I put in my conclusion. Just shifting the social problem from one place to another.
Yeah, well, this problem has happened in Hobart as well.
We have these problems as well. So the issue of slum, when we're talking about slum, the first thing that comes to our mind, big cities like Delhi, Casablanca, some Brazilian cities. But the issue of slum, it's not just about when we are talking about informality or illegal settlements. It's about how people experience housing. When we are talking, for instance, about overcrowding, there are some houses in Tasmania where you can find 8 or 9 people. That's a kind of slum as well. But slums, as I said, has been linked with global south. So we're talking about developing countries, India, Pakistan. And we may have slum one day in Hobart if the government is not trying to solve the issue of housing seriously. We may have slums again, because if I don't have a place, what I'm going to do? I'm going to be homeless. When I'm going to be homeless, I'm trying just to make a shelter where I'm going to stay, probably a tent, and with that tent another one will be joined. Given that the number of homeless people has been increasing in Hobart in recent years, I think in 2016 we had around 600, and in 2019 we had around 1,000 people. So it's going up. So the way housing is being managed today in Australia, I guess we may have slums one day. because slums is a reaction to the failure of the state. When the state failed to solve and provide a decent and affordable housing to people, of course, people would actually find new ways to shelter themselves.
What were some of the challenges in adjusting to life in Hobart outside of just the academic side?
I don't think I actually had many challenges in Hobart. Yeah, there was some, like I feel sometimes that I am a bit isolated. Australia is really far from Morocco. And yeah, it's a challenge to go and visit Morocco. First, it's costly. Second, it's a tiring journey. You need probably, at least you need 27 hours to get to Morocco, just one. So sometimes I just feel like I'm really, really far from my family and from home. But that has been maintained. I've managed to make many friends here, colleagues, and I think, yeah, I've managed to actually cope with that problem. The other challenge, I wouldn't say a challenge. Yeah, sometimes the weather, I feel like it's always cloudy. It keeps changing all the time. You might have 4 seasons in one day. And especially in the winter, I really struggle to do the laundry. Then it's pretty hard to take them out. But it hasn't been an issue, to be honest.
What do you say are some of the main differences you've encountered comparing Australian culture with Morocco or Malaysia?
Okay, so let's start first with the social structure. I think is a bit different between Australia and Morocco. People in Morocco tend to be actually influenced by religion, family. So the role of religion is still there, tribes are still there, family is still there, culture. And however, in Australia, I guess we tend to be more independent. We are a secular country, and people enjoy being free, being independent, doing their own decisions. So here we tend to be, I guess, more individualistic compared to Morocco. So this is with regards to the social structure. When it comes to food, of course, food in Morocco it's shaped by the family as well. If you say, for instance, the way we eat, we share the food with all family members. We're gonna have a big dish. You get everyone in the house, and you share the food. We don't have that one in Australia because, as I said before, we tend to be more individualistic. This is my food. I don't want to share it with anyone. In Morocco, no, you have to. When you go, have you ever been to Morocco?
No.
You've never been to Morocco. No. When you are invited one day, you will see how people eat, how they share food. Food is pretty rich in Morocco, while in Australia is, I guess, very multicultural. So in Morocco, wherever you go, you get couscous, you got tagine, you got mint tea. So this is very common in Moroccan houses. In Australia, the food differs from one house to another because we are very multicultural. And even though, unfortunately, I don't cook Moroccan food here anymore, so I am very assimilated, I guess, to the Australian culture. So whenever I speak to someone, Ben, would you like to make some Moroccan food? We want a Moroccan dish. Unfortunately, I can't.